How did you discover the mess hall cook was a former Navy SEAL? Nobody paid attention to Danny, our mess hall cook. Quiet guy, maybe 50, always had breakfast ready by 5 a.m., made decent eggs, terrible coffee, kept to himself, been cooking for our base in Afghanistan for 8 months. Never heard him raise his voice, never saw him outside the kitchen, just another contractor doing his job. Then came the night attack. 2 a.m., mortar rounds started falling, alarm sirens wailing, everyone scrambling for cover. I was running toward the bunkers when I heard automatic weapons fire from the kitchen area. Made no sense. Kitchen was nowhere near the perimeter. Why would there be fighting there? Found 3 Taliban fighters dead outside the mess hall, clean headshots, precise groupings, professional work. Danny was standing over them with an M4 he'd somehow acquired. Where'd you get the rifle? I asked. Took it off the first guy, he said calmly, like he was discussing the lunch menu. That's when I noticed his movement. No wasted motion, tactical positioning, the way he cleared corners. This wasn't some random cook who got lucky. You military? I asked. Was, he said. Started dragging bodies away from the kitchen entrance. Long time ago. Pressed him for details over the next few weeks. Took persistence, but eventually the story came out. 22 years Navy, teams 3 and 6, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, places he couldn't name. Retired in 2010 after his wife died. Cancer. Couldn't handle civilian life. No purpose, no mission, no brothers watching his back. So you became a cook? Food's honest work, he said. Nobody shoots at cooks, except they had shot at him. 3 insurgents breached the perimeter, headed for the mess hall to poison our food supply. Danny heard them coming, grabbed a knife, ended up in a firefight. Muscle memory, he explained. 20 years of training doesn't just disappear. Started noticing things after that. How he always positioned himself with clear sight lines. How he knew everyone's patrol schedules. How he'd subtly redirect conversations when people got too close to operational details. The guy was still operating, just feeding us instead of hunting terrorists. Best part was watching new arrivals try to mess with him. Some cocky private would complain about the food, maybe get disrespectful. Danny would just stare at them. Dead-eyed, 1,000-yard stare that made grown men apologize immediately. What's his deal? They'd ask later. He's killed more people than cancer, someone would whisper. Show some respect. Word spread throughout the base. Danny became legendary. Soldiers would line up early just to chat with him. Tell him about their missions, ask for advice, treat him like the veteran he was. He started sharing stories. Nothing classified, just brotherhood stuff, how teamwork keeps you alive, why preparation matters. Leadership lessons from 2 decades of special operations. Became our unofficial counselor. Guys having problems would grab coffee, sit with Danny, talk it through. He had this way of listening that made you feel heard. 6 months later, Taliban attacked again. This time they knew about Danny. Brought twice as many fighters, specifically targeted the kitchen. Found 12 enemy dead in a perfect defensive perimeter around the mess hall. Danny had turned his workspace into a fortress. Used industrial equipment as cover, created fields of fire, established multiple fallback positions. When reinforcements arrived, he was reloading magazines behind an overturned freezer, completely calm. Breakfast might be delayed, he said. Kitchen's a bit messy. That attack made international news. Civilian contractor kills dozen Taliban fighters. Media wanted interviews, book deals, movie rights. Danny refused everything. I'm not a hero, he told reporters. I'm just a cook who used to do other things. Stayed until his contract ended. Left quietly, no ceremony, no fanfare. Just packed his knives and disappeared. Last I heard he was cooking at a veterans shelter in Colorado. Still feeding warriors, still keeping watch. Once a SEAL, always a SEAL, even if your battlefield is a kitchen.